1, 2,
Standing
go.
by.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And we are your hairy heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy heavy homo to listen in. And you'll see instead of 3, there are 5 tonight. One is a somewhat familiar face. We are thrilled to bring back to the show Mr. Jon Runyan of A Comic Book Look.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me on.
Welcome back. But you're not here in your capacity as the co-host of A Comic Book Look. You're here to talk about a Kickstarter that you're part of, and that's why the gentleman next to you in the screen is here. And for the first time on our show, we have Randy Faustino.
Hello. Thank you, guys.
And
Hey,
let me get this correct. Jon, you are the CEO, and Randy, you are the editor-in-chief of a new indie publishing company called Bamboo Panel Studios, correct?
Yes.
I got that right. Good.
Fancy. Cool.
So we're going to be talking with Jon and Randy about Kosmotrope, which is the initial book being released under the Bamboo Panel imprint and the Kickstarter that the campaign that's already in process. But we do have a tradition when we have a first-time guest of kind of going back to the start. So, Randy, you're on the spot a little bit first here, and then we'll get into Bamboo Panel. But how did you initially get into comic books?
So I first started collecting X-Men in the 90s. That's kind of what really got me started. And then, of course, that was, X-Men 97 is back, so that's like honestly such a wonderful, it's like a rejuvenation of everything. I just watched this week's episode and I was like, oh, they're getting all the cool events. But that's really where it started. But I think I was asked this question before, and I think what even led into that, I think, was Transformers, like Generation 1, the 1986 movie. I think that's really what got me hooked into animated storylines and all that other kind of fun stuff. And so, I'd say literary was X-Men, but I think it really started with Transformers. And so it just went from there. So of course, with X-Men 97, I've been squeeing like a fan. When I heard it was going to come out, I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just so happy that it's here. So.
It's funny that your origin story about why you fell in love with comics and stuff is also most people's origin story for childhood trauma.
Well, I've always been that kid I was never afraid of the dark. So I'm like, I guess it kind of, it follows suit. Gambit was my favorite character. So
Gambit?
Cool.
Okay, very nice.
All right. Well, think of this as a race, and I've got the interview baton, and I'm immediately handing it off to Steve to start off our interview to hear about Kosmotrope and all about Bamboo Panel.
Me? Well, thank you. So let's start with Bamboo Panel Studios. I know a tiny bit about the origin story of this new comics publishing extravaganza. And I know that it involves brunch somehow. Tell us about brunch.
You're up, John.
All right. So in my previous life, I worked at our local comic book store here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Randy was a box holder and customer, and him and I got to talking. And you know me, I love coffee. I love going out and, getting to know people. So we're going to brunch. We're talking about, boys and life and everything else, because it's just fun. It's fun to have someone that is, awesome. And so we got to talking, and it just was kind of one of those moments where it's like, what if we put that into a comic book? And we always think about it as it was like a dare, but also kind of a joke, where, we should totally do that. And, fast forwarding along, that led to a series of conversations where suddenly we're looking on Instagram and other platforms for artists and creators thinking, Randy has a story in his mind, so we need to bring it to life. On Instagram, Randy actually found an artist, Ashley, and he showed me her page. I really liked her artwork. Randy was just over the moon about it. And I said, Randy, the time is now. Face your fear and send her a message right now. No fear. And he did. She actually ended up saying yes to joining our team. So she is the third part of our equation. And here we are, a year plus later, truly. And our first comic is officially hitting the printer right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right this very moment? Excellent.
Yeah, just a couple hours ago. So.
We reviewed the digital proofs, and John is like, just look at it and tell me that it's good. So,
yep.
And it was.
That's awesome. That's so, like you said, it took about a year and a half or so from sort of like the initial idea and bringing on the artist, bringing on Ashley, and obviously Randy writing it, and the whole process of lettering it and coloring it and doing all that. Is this kind of how you had pictured it while you were creating a comic? Like, did you go in saying like, oh yeah, this is exactly like these are all the steps that we're going to take and be like this, or has it sort of like changed? Like, has your expectation on making a comic book really changed now that you've actually done it?
I think that one thing that Randy and I are really good at is being realistic. And so when you're thinking about starting a business, because we are an LLC in the state of South Dakota, we have like our official businessy stuff. Like Randy works with a lawyer. We have contracts for all of our contributing artists and et cetera. So we take that stuff very seriously. And so we definitely put the time in to grow this. And it's been very eye-opening to go through our first Kickstarter, our first working with the comic book printer, things like, time frames, response to the product, things like that, selling our book to shops across the Midwest and even up into Winnipeg, Canada. So Randy and I have been tag teaming that. Randy just got a thumbs up from a shop in Albuquerque saying they're interested in carrying our book too, just based on what they've seen from Ashley's artwork. So it's a lot. If I were to give us one piece of advice from now till back then, I don't even know what it would be, because I think we planned on a lot of things, but I think the things that came to us were not things that we planned for. So I don't know,
Yeah. I think there's a lot of.
We did our due diligence on so many things, but then there's other things that we didn't consider where it's like, oh, we should adjust to that,
There's a lot of evolution.
Yeah. But I will say that this has been a series of, we were meeting weekly for pretty much close to a year, the three of us. So that was really cool. And a lot of time went into this first book. So it's just, for us, it's really exciting to see it come together. And it's really helped us learn the process. We already have book 2 coming out in August. And then we have another project for our local comic book convention. We're bringing back the comic book style program for them. So we're in charge of designing this 24-page document. So,
wow,
yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my little spiel of it, I guess. And I totally glazed over a lot that's happened. So Randy, if you want to jump in, you sure can.
No, I think you caught most of the important things. Like, it did start originally as a dare over brunch, because it was a line of dialogue that John had said for a character I dreamed up on the spot, and I was like, that's a really great line of dialogue that should go in a comic book. And then that's when he dared me, and I'm terrible for dares. Like, I'm not the person you should dare, because I'll just do it just to show that it is my choice to do it and I will do it. But he dared me to write a book, and I'm like, okay, fine. And so that's what led to the book, the company, another project, and then all the things that we're doing now. But it's been such a blast doing it. And I think, oh yeah, one of the things, John, that you forgot to mention too, originally when we were putting the book together, we thought, oh, you know what, who are we going to send it to? Like, not Marvel, not DC. We didn't want to do the big ones. And we're like, well, let's take a look at like Valiant or Image, or even one of the smaller ones. What are they looking for? And we had actually started putting together, because I found a list of criteria for Dark Horse Comics where they said, hey, if you're going to send us something, this is what you need to do. So I started putting that together. And then when I talked to the group, during those weekly meetings, I'm like, how do you guys feel? Like, I know we're doing this, and Dark Horse would be cool because, if they pick it up and they turn it into a movie, how awesome would that be? But I said, what do you guys think about doing our own thing? Because we have a lot more control over it that way. And especially if there's creative directions or anything like that, it's easier for the three of us to talk it out than to try to argue with an exec at a different company. And so we all, I forget how we all came to it, but we brought it up one meeting, and then we decided, what, let's do our own thing. Let's just see. And that's really how Bamboo Panel Studios kind of, was given birth. And honestly, John and I have talked about it, and Ashley as well. We go back to it and we're like, this was actually a really good call, because, we're in charge. And so we can vet storylines, we can include things, we can decide on timelines and who we want to work with, who we don't want to work with, and it's really important having that agency. And I think, I haven't looked back. I'm like, no, I'm glad we have what we have and we're building it.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I mean, that is one of the things when you're first starting out, and want to put a book out there with so many options with different indie studios, indie publishers. Obviously, you got the big two, but that's yeah. They're not really famous for not so much independent stuff anymore, or creative owned stuff anymore. DC obviously with Vertigo no longer there. But I think that's pretty cool, and it's actually really really amazing to be able to start sort of a new publisher, so you can put out what you want to put out. You can control what you're putting out. You can control what kind of decisions are made with the books, the characters, the direction of of what you want to continue publishing, other books, other stories, things like that. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say not only that, but I mean it follows a pretty common trend that's happening nowadays. If you look at all of your bigger artists and bigger writers who are doing things now, Kelly Sue and Matt Fraction, they've got their own LLC. They still publish with Image, but they've got their own LLC that they can do things with. Scotty Young has his own company. Like, all of these people have their own things that launch in, and then they can use, for protective matters, right? But then they can use that to license their stuff and to work with other publishers. So it makes a lot of sense. And it's, from one aspect, it protects you. It gives you that little extra layer of separation where you can work with those. And I think that you said something really, really smart there. It gives you the ability to develop. I think I don't think you used that word, but that's a lot of what I got out of that when you were talking about it. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is your first foray into the creator aspect, is it not? So I figured with John, but Randy, what's your history with writing? What's your history with, because we're all comics fans, right? You can be a comic fan, but that doesn't mean you can write.
True.
So what's your history with that?
Yeah, so my day job, I am trained as a scientist. So I have a PhD in physiology. I was running a cardiovascular lab where I was researching electrical diseases of the heart. And so a lot of my writing, so originally, before I got into my science career, I did a lot of just, prose writing, creative writing, but more for like assignments or competitions or something like that. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. But science writing is a different beast, but I still got to exercise that capacity, right? But I'd say for the past, I don't know, for all of my career, it's really been scientific manuscripts. So highly technical, very factual, the kind of stuff you would read in textbooks or in scientific journals. I'd write pieces for the public, so stuff that can make it more accessible. But the creative writing was something that I always did on the side when I was feeling stressed. Like, we have our artist, and she draws for fun to de-stress. I would write, and so I'd write little snippets here and there. I found I had a natural bent towards writing like thrillers. And so, like, murder mysteries, that kind of stuff. And so you'll see a little bit of that actually reflected in Kosmotrope. But that's kind of my experience. And I've won like small awards for that kind of stuff. So I do have a little bit of credentials when it comes to the creative side, and actually lifting up Bamboo Panel Studios. So recently we were just given a Sioux Falls Arts Council grant to help continue or finish off the publication of our book. And then we were also named as a finalist for this DeGroote Foundation Award, which also, it recognizes really, well, they like writers who write about diversity and that kind of stuff. So the fact that I made it as a finalist, I was actually pretty impressed, because, like I was telling John, I've just found this opportunity and I thought, oh, you know what, let's just apply for whatever we can, just because we need the money. So if we get the grant, great. If we don't, it's a good experience. And so I got to be a finalist, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited about that. And then when I looked at all the other finalists, these are people who are like international journalists, people who've written award-winning memoirs and poetry. And I'm like, I'm just a comic book nerd with a science background. I'm like, okay, I'm glad I made it to the finalist pool. So I'm like, so it was really humbling, and it was really kind of like nice to know that they like our ideas. People like what we're doing. They like what we're presenting. They like the whole principle of why we're doing what we're doing. So that's my background in writing just keeps evolving. So now I do both science and creative stuff. So
I love that. So tell me, and I'm a craft junkie, right? So I love the behind the scenes process stuff. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that process was like, because so my undergrad is in creative writing, and I do all of that fun stuff. But there's a difference in writing scripts and writing short stories, right? So how did you so what was your kind of learning experience like in working with an artist and writing towards that artist in a script form? Or did you go the quote unquote Marvel style, where you wrote out a paragraph and you said, hey, take this and panel that? So number one, did you like learn script style writing and comic styling, and if so, what tools did you use? Or did you just kind of use what you knew how to do?
Sure. No, that's an awesome question. So I'm only used to writing long form, like novellas, right? And so actually the first time I had this idea, I wrote it out like you would expect of a typical novel, right? Like that kind of manuscript. And then I was looking at it and I'm like, you know what? This isn't going to work for my artist, because it is such a visual medium. And so obviously with comic books, we're now dealing with a short story format first, which is challenging, especially if you're used to doing like the long exposition stuff. So first, that was a challenge for me. But this is kind of funny. So my background in science actually helped me with the script writing, because in science, we have to do, okay, just tell me the facts, give me the details so that I can truly understand what's in each image, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's kind of the same principle I need for the artist. And so I had no experience with script writing, but I found a template. I wish I could remember the name, but it's a template that's been used in the comic industry. I know John and I have shared it with our artists, and we give all credit to the original, designer of it. But we use this template, and I basically, if I have stories that I kind of write in a novel format, I will actually take that and then I'll kind of redo everything according to a script format. So I will do the panel descriptions in as much detail as possible. I'll even give references for my artists. I'll say, hey, check out this website. This is kind of the imagery I was thinking. And then I'll have each of the lines of dialogue separated accordingly. So I had to learn that from the beginning, because I didn't know how to do it, but I kind of had a solid base going into it because of my technical and science writing. And yeah, as far as with the artist, so communicating with the artist, I wanted to give enough detail that she or he or they could kind of envision it, but I always made sure I like leaving it open for the artist, because honestly, Ashley, just letting her have free reign, she she illustrates these things better than I could have imagined. And so it's a really great relationship. And I can tell you the artists love having a well-detailed script. So, they're not guessing. They're not going, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Is it blue? Is it red? Is it green? So we've been pretty fortunate in that we have had a lot of good tools and good team members.
That's fantastic. Just being able to like work that in and taking what and just that spirit of transference, which I think is that is something purely indicative of art. Art transfers itself to other forms of art. So I really enjoy hearing that. So Jon, it sounds like on your end of things though, you did a lot of the networking and a lot of the behind the scenes kind of understanding the business side of things. So number one, that's got to be a daunting task, right? What was it like going from, which you have comics retailer experience, and we've talked about that before, but what was it like kind of shifting gears to going, okay, this is not local anymore. Now we are doing something with the intent of shipping it out. And like you said, you're working with attorneys and you're looking at contracts and publishing contracts and stuff. What was that experience like? I mean, what did you find it daunting? Was it exciting? A little bit of both?
So definitely exciting. And with some of those items you mentioned, like the contracts and the legal items and even selling to shops, Randy brought a lot of the legal items to the table. So I do need to give credit where it's due. But
Very cool.
On the flip side, I will say that the one thing I like about the three of us is that we're really starting to kind of meld. Like we look like the Google Chrome icon with the three colors, where we just kind of complement each other. I actually have been fortunate to be a part of the book as well. I actually am helping with the lettering aspect of it. And so I have been, hanging out on blambot.com and watching tutorials. I've graduated from my old Macintosh Photoshop that was non-subscription based to getting the new one, which I have to pay monthly for, but the functionality is way better and it has made me more efficient with lettering comics. And so that has helped me learn a new skill set, but also just kind of keeping, some of that in-house so that we can get it to how we like it, get it done to our standard. And so it's been a lot of fun. Regarding the contracts and everything, it's been really cool because Ashley and I have both been able to raise our hand and say, hey, Randy, can we get this kind of document from the lawyer? And we've really gone towards things that we can repurpose over and over again. So can we get a generic, contributing artist contract or, things like that? What does that look like? So that's our priority when we're working with people on our projects, is making sure you are getting paid, because there's a bad reputation out there for folks that do what we do, that, hey, thanks for the work, we're not going to pay you. And for us, that's one thing we communicate right away, is even if it's half down up front, we don't care, whatever, like we always pay, because reputation will make or break you in the industry. So
and one thing I want to add to Jon's comment, like that, going into it, I said I don't ever want this book to feel like it's a burden, because if all the creators are happy, you can see that reflected in the work, And so that same principle is what we want to bring to all the other people who work with us, whether they're writers or artists or colorists or letterers.
Yep.
We just want to make sure, are you happy and excited to be doing it? And part of that is making sure that their interests are covered as well and they're compensated.
Yep.
Because it really, like, if you, Jon's book, like, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but there's a lot of other projects coming up. You can see, to me, I always look at this and I'm like, oh my God, Jon, these are people who are enjoying what they're doing, and they're doing it with us. This is so cool. And you can see that in the work. So,
no,
that's awesome.
So, but yeah, the networking part of it, easy. I mean, it's a conversation. Randy and I have both approached comic shops at different times. We had a demo binder, so I think Randy has it right now with the pages of art in there. So we would just take that to shops, like, will you look at our project, please? But it truly was an organic conversation. So yeah, we have shops from Winnipeg down to Wichita, Kansas that raised their hand saying we're in. And then Albuquerque. And also, Bill, I thought you would appreciate this, but my boy Sean from Fat Moose Comics said that he may be interested in maybe carrying the book as well. So I had to represent Jersey tonight. So Thought you would appreciate that. Yeah, that's
Well,
the
that's-
demo binder. So it's just we just
Ooh.
pop the pages in as we update them, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I love seeing the results of the process. Caleb was talking about like the process and how to put things together is just really fascinating. Especially when you're starting this from the ground up. And I know Bill is probably chomping at asking what questions to ask, but we kind of want to talk about the book.
Let's do it.
So yeah, so Bill,
You
I'll
read
throw it over
my
to you.
mind.
Exactly, because I'm really excited to hear what you guys can tell us about it, because I know that can't hear everything. We don't want to spoil everything, but
Well, and Randy Randy and I have done a couple of interviews, and Randy, I would say for the Bears, we can be generous.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in comment or in visuals? Or...
Whatever. I can send over the page if you want me to.
Oh, the page. The page.
I was like, oh, the page.
I like
we have
it. This is the page.
We have the page.
I have the page. The page is in the book, but okay. I'll say that for if it's a response to a question.
Show us the page? Question mark.
You can't start with that.
So, Bill, what's the question? Is the question, what does the page look like?
Yes, the page. I think I know which page he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Well, start us off with like if you can give us the elevator pitch, like so jump into that, because I really want to hear this, because I love number one, just being a fan of Jon and a friend of Jon for past couple years now. Like
Sure.
I love that you've birthed this thing into existence. So I can't wait to hear what story Randy invented over a dare at brunch. I'm excited.
So the setting, it's an urban fantasy. It takes place in this fictitious town in Oregon. We set it in the Pacific Northwest. And so this becomes important as the story, as the way we've envisioned the whole series evolving. It takes place in a couple locations around the U.S. for now. But we picked the Pacific Northwest. And so it's this, it's a small town. Like if you guys are fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, think of Sunnyvale, except, in an Oregon town, Oregon setting. And so there's a lot of secrets in this town. There's been something that's been awoken. And it'll take the people of this town to sort of, it's up to them to defend their town, defend themselves, but they've got their own supernatural secrets, right? And so part of it is finding out that, I don't know if you hear a little dog here in the back who's making a lot of noise. She wants to be heard. Okay, hold on. Come here, you. She wants to contribute.
We've never met a puppy we didn't like.
All right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Puppies, kitties, all.
There.
Oh, look at that little fella.
She's like that. She just wanted to make her voice known. Are you good? Yeah. All right.
She gets all quiet.
Oh. Too cute.
You can't get mad at her. She's just too cute.
But
so
that face was just like, I didn't ask for this.
I was not ready for my close-up.
the whole interview would have gone with her getting progressively louder. So I'm like, fine, I'll attend to you. Now, now we're good.
She's like, who are these small strangers on the screen?
They're talking at me. What is going on?
How did those humans get in that box?
Well, I'm good. I'm a dog lover. What can I say? They're all sizes. But so this town has all these characters, and these are like maybe second generation kids who are born, but they come from all different places, and they all have their different secrets. And so our two protagonists, one is a conservation officer. Jon has fallen progressively more and more in love with him, I realize, as the stories progress. And our other character is, he's a hotshot ER doctor who also has descendant from a line of gods. So these are things maybe some people in their lives know, maybe not. I know Jon always wants to bring up the romantic subtext that might be developing. And originally he asked me to turn this into a rom-com, and I said no. But it is a story about two guys who are very strong in different ways, and it's actually them being strong together that's actually going to help out the town in the ways that really, really needs it. Yeah, and these are, I would say, the town itself is more. If you see our slices of life on our Instagram for Bamboo Panel Studios, the people of the town already know it's not a typical town. Like there's a couple things there that we know, but we have no idea just how deep it runs and how important it's going to be. And so that's kind of where we are with that. And so this first issue really kind of introduces some of the main characters and kind of sets the stage for the conflict that they're going to be facing.
So issue 1's kind of a getting the gang together vibe, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Oh, I love that trope.
It is, as it was, so in my head, I'm like, okay, this is the way it's going to go. But then as the story evolved, I'm like, oh, this is the way it's actually going. And so, so it really turned into, I think, and you guys can tell me, when you get the chance to see it, it's definitely slow burn thriller start to it. I know my artist Ashley, she's been chomping at the bit for action scenes. So issue 2 is going to be a lot more of that stuff. So
that's cool. I can't wait. I haven't obviously, haven't gotten it in my hands yet, but I will because I have backed the Kickstarter. Speaking of the Kickstarter, when did it start? And I will be showing it here, just projecting it if I can. Good old StreamYard will like to show it.
Well, while he's pulling that up, I just want to say one of the things that y'all brought up twice now is this ability and almost necessity of being able to improvise or to be able to deviate from a plan. And I think that's incredibly important with any kind of creative endeavor, whether you're writing or painting, no matter what you do. I think anybody who's done that, who's taken a creative exercise, they'll tell you that, well, it is great to have a plan, right? Have an outline, have an idea, give yourself a roadmap, so to speak, but it's going to take a life of its own. And it's the characters are going to tell you who they are, even as the writer. Like these things are beings that, art is magic, right? I will die on that hill. Like these creatures are on another plane and they are coming out through you. I've always believed that, right? And I love that the way that functions, where they tell you who they are and they will surprise you in very intricate and small and big ways. And the ability to be successful in that, I think, and Bill, you've done playwriting and stuff in this, so you can probably speak to it more than I have. But the ability to improvise and adapt as you go forward and through the process, to be able to edit, right? That is key to success, no matter what you are doing, in life.
And I think Caleb hit on it exactly. Is that it's an area that's peculiar because you're giving up control, yet you're the one in control. The characters are telling you what the trajectory is, no matter what preconceived notions you had going into it. And my question with that process was there anything that got abandoned that because of whatever the character's life of their own dictated, that were there some particular changes, or in my particular situation, I would say it was more of a delay than a jettisoning. So did you have any circumstances like that where one particular path, there was like a very natural diversion from that?
Not for the stuff in the first book. I think some of the things I had outlined for farther along in the story, when I look back at it, I'm like, no, you know what? That doesn't necessarily make sense for this. And the way, like you said, Caleb, the characters, they have their own life, their own quirks, and that comes out in the writing. And it's like at one point you're like, oh, I had this scene where I thought X and Y were going to end up doing this, but you know what? That doesn't make any sense, because that's not who they are. And that would be really weird and out of character unless you do some bizarro retcon thing where, that's like an escape. And I'm like, no, let's not do that. And I know our artist has done the same thing where she's looked back at some of her illustrations. She's like, you know what? I want to redo that. That's not communicating exactly what I want. It's not hitting the way I want. So we've done it both on the illustrating and the writing side for sure.
And in terms of scope, wasn't anything I took away from the Kickstarter. Like, how big is this story? Do you see it for 6 issues or beyond that?
So right now, honestly, I thought so. Everything I thought I had outlined, I thought was going to be 2 books, like maybe three, because 3 is good.
Yeah.
I realized I got a portion of that, maybe less than 10% of the whole story I'd outlined in issue 1. I'm like, ooh, okay. I think it's going to go a little bit longer than I thought. But that's okay. I mean, hopefully people will like it. They want to see where the story goes. They want to see how these characters evolve, because I have a whole timeline in mind where I see them doing certain things. And so, I think, I don't think it's going to be in perpetuity, but
Right.
I think it's definitely going to be, longer than 3. So,
okay. And in terms of another area of process, John, how did you get involved in this as a letterer?
So it like when you're a small team and you're like, okay, Randy's got the writing, Ashley's doing the art, and I'm like, I'm gonna do the lettering, and I think that was probably something else that came up when I was talking with Randy at some point, was like, I'll give it a swing. Let's give it a go and see. And I was like, I think I can do it. So we've had a couple of practice runs. I did a mock-up comic strip. We purchased a Comics for Life program, which only does bubbles. So it's like Photoshop, but just for bubbles. But you get what you pay for, kind of thing. So it was good, but I was just like, I can't color the bubbles. I can't really do that much with it. That first comic strip actually appeared in Tom from a Comic Book Looks zine, Spork issue 3, I believe. It was 3, yeah. So that was technically our first time in print with Ashley, Randy, and I, which was super cool. And then we have this little cutie. So our ash can was printed, and so this has previews of Kosmotrope #1, and then also the follow-up, Dottie's #1, which I'm leading the charge on. So it's really fun just to see Randy's writing, my writing, Ashley's art. Ashley did a beautiful job on this cover. By the way, this print of the cover was very popular at Emerald City, I heard from Ashley. So a lot of the boys out there were like, we'll take that. So that was pretty cool. That was
cool. You buried the lead. If you had have just started this whole podcast off with, hey, buff chubby ginger bear, I would have just thrown my credit card. What? Nothing else you have said matters. Buff chubby ginger bear. That's what you lead with, guys.
Yeah, no.
I like it to sneak up on you. I like it to be unsuspecting, and then boom. Oh, okay. See.
But I will say that for all 3 of us, seeing our stuff just come together like that, the writing, the bubbling, and everything, and just getting it in print. So this was done through a local print shop. This is like an example of pages 1 and 2. We did a black and white to color fade showing the process of pencils to inks. And so that was kind of fun. And then this also contains a look at Dottie's, which is the story I'm leading the charge on. So I wrote this introduction, and then Ashley brought it to life with the art, which is cool. So yeah, awesome. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well,
in terms of the sorry, yeah, go ahead, Steve. Whatever you have.
No. Go on.
Questions about the campaign. But so if you saw me distracted, that was actually me becoming a backer. So there's one more there. And I was hoping that you could talk about the campaign, because I noticed there is a cover from a particular gentleman in Scotland who is a regular listener and viewer. So why don't you talk about those incentives and the campaign itself?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. So thank you, first of all, for backing. So we are nearing the halfway mark. And for us, Randy and I were talking about this, and there's the act of getting funded in 24 hours, 48 hours, and there's all this look, with doing that. But for us, 1, we're just happy to be in the room, right? So that's step 1. 2, the fact that we were able to cobble all this together while we're all warp speed busy in our normal lives outside of comic booking was a lot of fun. So putting this whole campaign together was a lot of late nights once again. A lot of, hey, Randy, it's almost midnight. Can you look at this really quick for me? Kind of thing. And vice versa. I mean, Randy was
seeing what happens when he sends it to me. I just fired off. I'm like, okay, keep up. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. And so this campaign, though, is a lot of fun. As you look through the rewards, we really just had fun engaging with local creators. We have one local variant cover, the B cover, but the cover that Bill is referring to comes from Glenn Quigley, who is an absolute gem. I love Glenn, and it features one of our characters, Liam, on there in his finest of forms. And not to sweeten the deal or anything, we're figuring out how to print this and distribute it, but there might be no pants edition in existence as well by Glenn. So
yeah. There might be an NSFW. There might be.
He did a really beautiful job with it, and when we approached him about it, he was just like, this is awesome. So he was very happy to be a part of it. Glenn, I've followed him for years, got all of his novels, and just I love his artwork.
Does he work traditionally, or is he a digital artist?
I think his is actually traditional, following his post.
I believe he's traditional.
Yeah,
he from my conversations with him.
Yep. He should let me know how much he wants for that.
Caleb looking to get the original copy.
He did a beautiful job with it, and just the fact that he wanted to be a part of this with us was really meaningful. And so that meant a lot to me. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with these covers. So that is the Glenn Quigley variant.
The GQ variant.
The GQ variant.
GQ variant.
So definitely, if you guys want a little heat in your collection, get that. This cover is really cool. So Mikey Martinez is a local artist here, and he kind of took the duality of the inner bear in you and just really had fun with it. So Mikey is actually another customer I met at Rainbow Comics, but before that, Mikey did just a ton of work for me on various projects, and this is just amazing. We loved it right away, and we said we have to have it, so he was happy to jump in and do that for us. But yeah, no, the A cover though, Ashley definitely outdid herself. She did a few of these covers on here, but this A cover, we loved it so much with that bear silhouette, and just we're happy with it. Yep, same thing with the Kickstarter cover. And the crazy part is, you guys, we still had another Ashley cover too, off to the side, that we're still like, when do we release that? So we're definitely not short on options. We also threw in the sketch cover too. So for those that like getting sketches, those are always kind of fun. So we threw that in.
Yeah. So like a lot of, I mean, there's a lot here. I mean, I'm scrolling down. We've got Get Bamboozled. I love this one. Yeah. Get Bamboozled. If you pledge $200 to get all the covers, getting to see yourself in issue number 2, which is pretty awesome. So I guess Ashley would be drawing, the backer in.
Yep.
Yep.
I have to say, as somebody who shepherded a Kickstarter in the past, the incentive of having somebody drawn into an issue is probably the most fun aspect of that. If people remember with mine, it gave us the opportunity to punch Brian in the face. Yeah. So you're gonna have fun with that. Or probably Ashley more than anybody.
So yeah, it truly was fun to put together though, and we learned a ton just by doing this whole process. So again, I have never run a Kickstarter before, anything like that, but for us, our tactic with it is we are posting about it. We use the main Bamboo Panel socials for that, where we try to do that a little more frequently. But on our personal channels, I actually asked the team, let's not alienate our loved ones with this, because I see so many people in the industry. Day after day. I'm not going to say names because we're not like that. But I had one dude message me saying, I noticed you didn't back this one, but you did the previous time. Was it something I said? Like total attempted to guilt trip me kind of stuff. And I was like, now when I see the name in the inbox, I'm like, nope. And that's the impression we don't want to have.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those like, hey, we'll let you know it's out there. So my personal page is, I already did the initial. I'm going to do a mid. I'm going to do a like, hey, it's closing in 3 days, and then last day. And that's it. Kind of thing on my personal channels, just because for me it's about knowing your audience, but also making sure you're respectful of people's space. And so
very wise.
And
then I just have a question about bamboo panel. Is that the name? Is that a tribute to possibly 70s decor you grew up with in your basements, or where does that come from?
Yeah, the Dakotas, not known for bamboo forests.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have figured out, I'm not from the Dakotas originally, but I'm from Canada. So that also doesn't help. No, but my parents are from the Philippines. And so we were at the point of coming up with a name. So you know how I told you guys that we had thought about, hey, let's start our own studio. And then of course there was what are we going to call it? You know? And I remember I was talking to my dad about this over the phone because he's excited. You know, he knows that we're running this, and he's excited about like just seeing it grow. And he told me one of the stories that he heard as a little boy and that he's seen because he lived in a fishing village. Like he came from a fishing village that had jungles which had bamboo in them. And so he goes, oh, you know, it's just like he was more describing our efforts, right? Where he said, you know what, it's just like a bamboo. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about, Dad? He's like, you know, it can grow, like it's there, and it's just like it's not growing, but all of a sudden overnight, if it gets the right amount of water, the right amount of sun the next day, it's growing in the right area with the right soil. Overnight, it can shoot up several meters. So just keep going, just keep doing it the way you're doing it, and one day, boom, it's just going to take off. And I love the idea, you know, of like something bamboo like that. That's cool because how apropos is that for an indie studio where, you know, if you give it the right environment, the right nourishment, the right support, it suddenly gets big, right? And so I'm like, I love that idea. So I brought it to the team, and they love the idea for different reasons, you know. And then we came up, of course, you look up bamboo studios, there's so many that are out there. And it's like, okay, we're not the first ones to think about it. There was one, actually it was really funny. It was a construction company in Oregon, of all places, that was called Bamboo Studios. I'm like, what? Okay, fine. You know, like we can't compete with them. So let's bamboo something else. Let's call it something else. And then, of course, there were the other things that we thought about. You know, I can't even remember now, Grove and Forest and some other stuff like that. And who, John, was it you or Ashley who came up with it? One of them came up with it. Said, what about panels? It was you. Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you tell that part, John. So.
Yeah, we were sitting there just kind of spitballing, and I was like, well, what about a part of a comic book, right? Like bamboo spine, bamboo page, bamboo panels. And then Randy's like, that's the one, you know? And so we went with Bamboo Panels, Bamboo Panel Studios.
And the way that, so at some point you should make the name a reality, like actually frame your panels with bamboo. That'd be great.
Oh yeah. Well, we do have a sign. It's right there behind John. So
I saw. I think that's incredible, and I love the logo. Like it's fantastic.
And we also have been working on our swag, so we have cute little coasters.
Swag.
Swag.
So
yay, swag.
Once the Kickstarter is fully funded and you guys hit several stretch goals, because we're gonna manifest that into existence, right? What's the plan? Are y'all taking the show on the road? Do you have like are you hitting the con circuit with it? What all are you going to do? Or I know you said that you're linked up with several comic book shops throughout the Midwest and even up through Canada. Are you going to go to those comic book shops and do things? So what are you doing after the fact?
So quite a bit. So this is where we definitely divide and conquer. And Randy is blessed with his opportunity where he actually does a lot of traveling for his job. Anyways, so Randy is on the road quite often. He just got back to Sioux Falls. And then he has family up in Winnipeg. So for me, I have family down in Wichita, Lincoln, you know, so it's just a simple matter of, you know, let's plan a trip, do it strategically, maybe hit up some new shops, see if they're interested, have some of those conversations. That's my number one rule, though, is I don't call ever. I always talk face to face because it actually means something. And Krypton Comics in Omaha is one where the owner told me, yeah, if you would have called me or sent me an email, we would have been like, nah, thank you. And I think we did try an email like initially, like
no, we followed up. We never did the first contact with the email. I always either spoke to them or you did.
Yeah.
And...
So I talked to him at SuperCon, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, we've already tabled through Ashley at Emerald City Comic Con.
Mhm.
We are going to be flying Ashley out here for SuperCon, so all three of us will be together for the first time. And so we'll be tabling there. We have tabled at local events. So it's really fun to have our branded tablecloth out and our spread on the table. And there's people that come just to see us, which is really fun. So it's been really fun to sell the ash cans and sign some covers and stuff. But I'm really giddy to get going with the book itself. We do have a release party coming up on May 28th. So for those in the Sioux Falls area, it will be on a Tuesday night. We chose an off night, and we'll be partnering with a local shop, Rose and Eugene Presents here, to do just a really fun release party. We'll have the gal that did the charcuterie for my wedding is doing a little something for this. So my event planner mode and me is just making it all things fabulous. You know how I do it. And so it'll be a lot of fun though. Past that though, we are definitely open to doing other engagements throughout the region, throughout the country, really. And we also do have our first comic shop who has their own exclusive cover of our book down in Sioux City. So
Very
Starfighter Comics has their own cover. It's amazing. I can't spoil it, but the artist is a customer there, and he's a good friend of ours now too. And he did a beautiful job with it. So they have the original frame now, Randy. The original is framed and hanging up in their store. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's fun to make a splash like in our area,
Yeah.
and so it's a lot of fun. It's yeah. It's a lot. Little different from just working at a store or streaming and things like that, but actually like jumping in and doing it, it's humbling. So and this is a testament, by the way, to people that have done it before us. Randy and I have both been students of watching what other people have done, and Bill, when you sent me your book, a while back, it was just really cool to have something that somebody that did. And so I'm hoping that we can inspire other people to do this process, and that's one of our objectives, is to just let people know, dude, this is definitely approachable and it's doable. So Yep. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted. Bill.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm just filling in the dialogue.
Yeah. Steve, did I take a question away from you earlier? Is there something?
No. I just wanted to point out for anybody who's who's following along live or is joining us, I guess post streaming. We do have the link of the Kickstarter in the messages below, in the comments below. So definitely check it out and pledge some support to see if you can get one of those like really awesome variant covers, or of course that beautiful. It's just gorgeous too. So.
It's not hard to guess which one I signed up for.
Yeah. I mean, pretty. I mean, we're easy to read, so yeah.
So now, about this, where you get yourself drawn into the comic, do I get to like choose what I'm doing and with who, or?
Oh,
that's a great. I think I know the writer, so that would probably be a question.
Punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face.
Let me guess right this page.
Fanfic? It's a fanfic.
Dude, we've only had one issue out. We've already got fan fiction writers.
Randy.
Yes.
The Bears have been treating us very well tonight. And we've been very tight-lipped about everything. Do I have your blessing to send the digital to Steve so that we can show it?
Oh, I was gonna hold it up.
Oh, give him the HD. Come on. This comic book cares.
Don't you want to whet the appetite?
I know, but I want to do it with like.
You can do both.
The page. And John will send it. Of course, he will send it. So, yeah, I don't want to ruin the story, but wait, can you see that? Are you getting the glare?
It's definitely
Getting
a glare.
glare, but we can still see through the glare.
See it, yeah.
It's a glare.
I see enough.
Yeah,
I love the plot of the story. Love the plot. I'm here.
just
I'm here for the nuance.
You
I'm
know-
here for the introspection.
There you go. Steve, I got
Actually,
you.
it wasn't a gratuitous scene. It actually fits with his personality as you get to know him. So he is a country boy at heart, and he just loves being out in the wild. So,
which is always important. And I'm trying to get the HD copy downloaded here because I have to wonderfully convert it. Thank you, StreamYard.
Well, while he's doing that, let me just say congratulations. Like for the fact that you guys, it takes a level of bravery and almost some fearlessness to actually decide, hey, we are going to create something that has never existed before. And not only are we going to do this, right? We're going to do it the right way. We're going to produce it, and we're going to do it in a way that other people get to look at it. That takes a lot of selflessness. That takes a lot of thick skin. It is challenging. It's something that a lot of people, including myself, have never done. So congratulations. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for producing this and putting it out to the world. I mean that sincerely. That's those stories of people who want to be in the environment that you're in, right? You want to be in the production mode. You want to be a part of the thing that you enjoy. A lot of folks, like I said, myself included, we sit on the outside and we look in, like we're friends with the creators and stuff, but we're not in that process. It is very, very cool, and it warms me inside to know that you guys have done this and that you're a success story. You've done it, right? Like that is incredibly cool. So congratulations, guys. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just looking about on the campaign pages and how you thought this out from an organizational standpoint, it's really impressive.
It really is
really, really impressive because we can already see that you have second, third, and fourth steps lined ahead, and it's not nebulous.
Yeah.
It is well thought out. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
thank
Definitely
you for that.
congratulations.
We do really appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, and also I do want to say thank you for sharing this image with us.
Oh, bless you.
No, it is, yeah. a little blown up here. Yeah, a little bigger.
So
a
writing
little
the script for this page was a lot of fun, but I did not tell the artist in what, I left it up to her. And then when she showed this to John and I, we were like,
You were just like,
And then
I wrote that.
And then I have to, you know what, John, we have to give props to our colorist as well.
Yeah.
Because I just remember thinking when we saw the inks, we were like, wow, oh my God, wow, Ashley, this is amazing. And then when our colorist got his hands on it, we're like, okay. Okay.
Did your colorist also do the ash can?
So Ashley actually did the cover entirely.
I was going to say that really spoke out too. So
and then the colors on the Kosmotrope preview he did do, and then the colors for Dottie's was that was Ashley.
That was Ashley.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so you might be able to tell from that page what our one character's abilities might be. I mean, he is literally a ginger bear. So actually, when I was writing this, so there's a term I found that I didn't realize this was a thing. So in the wild, they're actually called cinnamon bears.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know that. And I'm like, cinnamon bear. I love the idea. That so fits. Like,
there's even a 1940s radio series, The Cinnamon Bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I did not
Also-
realize that. I'm thinking that works, you know?
Also, a lovely drag queen in Schenectady. Just that's yes.
Cinnamon Bear.
Well, we got another cinnamon bear to add to the mix. So hopefully he will warm your hearts as he has warmed ours.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yes.
As always, this is fantastic that you're able to join us and talk about your book and about your studio and about this wonderful thing, these babies that you have given birth.
Okay, well, we're going to move on, but you gentlemen, we are tangential District Depot here. So if you would like to stick around as we talk about comic books and contribute, we'd really like to have you.
Let's do it.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna bypass news because there's a lot we haven't covered that's gone down in the last 7 weeks. Lots gone down.
Months, years.
So we will get to that. We'll do that when it's just the three of us, and we'll have a decent news catch-up segment. So we're just going to go on to our roundtable spinner rack comic book yapping. And this past Saturday we had Free Comic Book Day, and that leads right into Caleb's book. I put out a really unintentionally depressing post about my Free Comic Book Day. I didn't mean to do that. That comes down, but it's always a highlight of the year in terms of this particular industry and this particular art form. So it just so happens that Caleb's choice was one of the free books. So Caleb, take it away.
Yeah, so I had a great time for Free Comic Books Day. As is my custom, I went over to my local comic shop, which is Capel Comics in Sherwood, Arkansas. If you're ever in Central Arkansas, look them up. They're a great shop. Love that place. And I really, unlike years past, where I've actually been given copies from the shop, and they say, hey, write little blurbs for our Facebook pages and stuff. I went in blind. I didn't know what was getting dropped for Free Comic Book Day, other than one or two things. But so I got to go in and just see what there was, and it was kind of cool because I was like, I feel like I'm, it's like a kid walking to the comic shop again. You're not sure what's coming out. You didn't read previews. You didn't look at all that stuff. And the book I picked up, mostly just because of the lettering, really, for no other reason. Is Mad Magazine's Superman special. Well, not Superman special, but it's based off that. And really what it is a collection of Justice League adjacent comic strips that appeared in Mad Magazine all the way from the mid 60s till relatively recently. I think the most recent one was 2019. And I saw this cover, and that's funny, right? That is slapstick humor at its best. I know Mad Magazine is not for everybody, not even for everybody on this podcast, but I saw that and thought, okay, that is really cool. And I didn't know what was inside it. I did not look at this until I actually sat down and read it. I didn't realize, is this going to be relatively new stuff? What is it? And like I said, it is a collection of strips all the way from the oldest portions of Mad Magazine to the new ones. It starts off with a strip published in 1966. Which is a little bit before I was born, only slightly, but it's got Sergio Aragonés drawing it. You flip the pages and you get these a lot of just Don Martin is all over this book. You get Jennifer Bacon, who does a lot of the colors. New material from 2018 and 2019, again by Sergio Aragonés. So you get to see work from the 1960s from Sergio. And then just here recently, relatively recently from Sergio. It's just fun, right? And it's all small. It's all digestible. It is lowbrow, which is what you want from it, right? They're making slapstick humor. They make jokes. One of my favorite ones is called Truth, Justice, and the American Oy Vey Department. Modern hassle Superman would face if he really returns. And this is one of the ones that was written more contemporarily. It's by Jacob Lambert with art by Herman Meha. And it's, hey, Superman's Fortress of Solitude is getting broken into pieces because of global warming. Superman is constantly being harassed by George Bush. He wants him to spin the world around backwards and go back in time so he can just, not do things with the Iraq War. I thought it was very clever and a very cool way to really point out how this character, who was invented, in the 1930s, in a whole different world than what we have now. What the tropes that have lasted through time, like what would they be like today? I thought it was a very, very fun piece of just kind of schlocky humor. And so I had a lot of fun with this. Won't get into the details because, every other page has got something new in it. There's a great one about Black Adam joining the Justice League, and, it being asked to explain his name. So it's fun. But Bill, I know you picked this up as well, I believe, right?
Yeah. Thanks for calling me out. About saying it's not for everybody, even on this panel.
It's not calling you out; it's setting you up.
Well, you said me. Thank you. Hope all your dreams come true too. When it comes to stuff like Mad Magazine, another thing I can immediately think of is Weird Al Yankovic. I've never been one for the laugh once and that's it. It's funny once and then I'll never return to it. So that's why I've never really gravitated towards Mad. I do think Al Jaffe was brilliant. I do think Spy versus Spy is really inventive, but it's not in line with my twisted head and where my humor is. That being said, this was really well packaged. For a conceit free comic book day where you could have just handed this off to an assistant editor. They found, 24 pages of superhero material and just put it together. They could have done that. This was really well edited and really well thought out. As Caleb said, it, basically has a span of from 1966 to I think 2019 was the most recent effort.
So, yeah.
And it was actually the more recent efforts that I was most impressed with, which were the Funnies by Kerry Callan, which were takeoffs of strips like Peanuts and The Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes and Blondie in a superhero context. Those are the ones I enjoyed the most. And if they had a collection of Funnies, I would be interested. I've never heard of Kerry Callan before. I got to be honest.
But it's all in this book. Has
all in this book, and just Arthur Curry drawn as Calvin was just so perfect in that bit. So I enjoyed this far more than I thought I would. And again, citing to a really well thought out editor put this together, and you have to appreciate that. So
yeah, absolutely. I do agree. Callan's his ability to really capture the art style of all those different strips. I mean, it's just great. My favorite, I think, was the Blondie with Joker and Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
where they're just they're walking around. They're like, "Oh, the dishes need doing. The yard's not mowed. Everything's just really dirty." Well, it's a good thing it's not our house. You see Blondie and Dagwood dead in the living room. You're like,
I think my favorite was the Don Edwig and George Woodbridge from 1966, and it's the comics scenes we would like to see. And Superman sees a safe falling off a building and it's about to hit a guy, so he runs over and pushes the guy to safety, but knocks him down. He's wiping his brow, like, "Oof, I saved you," and the dude's like, "I don't know what happened, dude. You just pushed me." So he gets up and he pushes Superman back and then walks off. I thought that was great. Some dude just randomly pushed me down. What the hell?
This is good. I really enjoyed overall. I thought that there was a lot of really great Free Comic Book Day offerings this time around. I thought it was just a really good selection from the big guys. Even from some of the the other other studios. Just they really put out some great stuff. I know that Bill had some trouble finding Gotcha Man, but now he doesn't have any trouble.
I'm swimming in copies. When you get the word out,
with Gotcha Man.
Something. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just getting a good from Mad Cave Studios, getting a really good intro to the story like this, with a couple different small short stories.
And I think it's very smart that a lot of publishers use this as a basically a launching platform. for some new projects. You saw that with Mad Cave, also with Flash Gordon, with
Right.
Dynamite, with their version of Johnny Quest. Marvel had introductions, so there were a lot of good,
introduced the new
very
Doctor
smart
Who.
to use this off as jumping off points. And as depressing as my post was, I still have to say, all things considered, because I usually make a whole day of it. And the shirt that John has was a store that I discovered last year, Fat Moose, which is known for their black light posters in the walk up to the store. So it's so good that you're going to possibly have that book in the store. And I will make a trip up there to buy another copy. Definitely, if that does sit fast. But even with my talk and only hitting 2 shops, I still ended up getting like almost 30 books, so shut up. I said 30 books and he says 30 pounds.
So one of the things I love the most, like, you comic book shops have tropes, right? We all hear them, and sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. But the Simpsons comic book guy comes to mind, and if you walk into a comic book shop on a random day, you might see that. I was I could not stop smiling as I was people watching at my local comics book shop, which is in Arkansas, and Arkansas is what Arkansas is, right? So watching people, and it was not that, right? It was, number one, it was full of teenagers and kids who were there, and they were grabbing books. They were not just the free books, they were getting books to buy, to take home and read. It was an incredible medley of people of all shapes, types, big, just everybody. And that made me happy. It made me happy to see that in a comic book shop, because it's very much indicative of the actual comic fandom, and not just the comic fandom of the comic book shop. People, the Wednesday Warriors and stuff like that. So, every time I think, you hear those conversations of, oh, the industry, comics, whatever, liberals are killing comics and, gatekeeping and stuff. It's like, no, that's not true. That's you're only getting a small window into the world because you put those kind of blockers up. And whereas if you didn't, number one, you're going to increase your customer base. And number two, days like Free Comic Book Day really bring in more people who are doing great. And it's really fun to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess I can go on to my book. And like Matt, it's an older property in a new form. And I am not usually one to double dip, but I did in this circumstance. Dynamite last week launched the new version of Space Ghost.
Yeah.
And here are 6 of the covers there. The one that I chose, let me make sure because there's so many artists involved, is the one that's in the lower left corner here, which is by Michael Cho, who does a lot of the illustrations for the covers for DC's Omniboo releases. And Steve, I think you have another cover there, another shot of the cover there specifically. Yep, so very much in line with the original animation from Space Ghost from 1966, the cartoon series. The other version I got is Alex Toth original character design. And Steve, I think you have another
I think
shot
so.
of that. I think,
there it is.
So, with Dynamite, you're always guaranteed to get tons of covers. So there were a lot to choose from, but those were 2 pretty good ones. Another reason I got the Alex Toth cover is he was a very distant relation of mine. My father's sister, Shirley, married Jack Toth, who was Alex Toth's cousin. I found out about this after Alex Toth died. So it would have been nice to have some connection to Super Friends, which was, another series that he did the character designs for, which meant so much to me growing up. But so there is I think the bare minimum of a distant relation. So that was there, but I did want to get that particular cover. And one valid criticism I think of Dynamite is the covers look great. You open the interiors, and your enthusiasm basically goes plummeting. But this was not the case because, and Steve, I think you have some examples here of Jonathan Lau's artwork. It kept it up, and in the past iterations of Space Ghost, we're not talking about Coast to Coast and the brilliant as it was, but very comedic take on the character. In the comic books, they did add to the legacy. You watch the cartoon series, you know that there's a guy named Space Ghost. He's got a cruiser, and he's got 2 teenage sidekicks and a monkey. And he's a hero, and that's basically all you know. So it's been in the comic books that have kind of expanded on what the actual backstory was. There was a DC series that came out in the 2000s, which gave him a really sad one, but a really sensible purpose of why he is an intergalactic crime fighter. A few years ago with DC, they had the Future Quest initiative, which lasted, I think, about like 3.5, 4 years, which basically combined all of the adventure characters from Hanna-Barbera in the 1960s. And so we have this new continuity. And the new continuity that we see here is a little more based on Jan and Jace, his teenage sidekicks, than it is on Space Ghost himself, at least what we see so far in the first issue. So we actually have a last name for Jan and Jace for the first time. It's established that they are brother and sister. And what you see here in that bottom panel there is that it's their father, Dr. Jared Kepler, is on a space station. He is a scientist assigned to Space Colony Omicron, and it's being attacked. He reaches out to a Federation. Let me get what the exact name of it is here. The Galactic Patrol. Love these like old-timey names, which basically is almost like an international police force. And what they think is a duo of Galactic Patrol officers are actually enemy agents, and they're taking over the colony itself. They're taking over the space stations around the colony, and they're up to no good. And things don't look good. But then, Steve, if you go to the next thing, someone rescues them, and the antagonist, one looked very familiar to people who regularly watch Space Ghost Coast to Coast, far more villainous take on that particular character, Brack, encounters this entity that's about to kick their ass. And they ask, "What are you?" And he replies, "A ghost." So it's set up what the geopolitical framework is, where Space Ghost operates in. It sets up the cultural background. It sets up some of the background for the 2 teenagers, Jan and Jace. And at the end, they realize, with the death of their father and the collapse of the colony that they've lived in their entire lives, that their lives as they know it are effectively over. And Steve, if you can just hit the next image, it turns out that that's not particularly the case. And Space Ghost replies, "I'm here." And again, Jonathan Lau was like, he's pretty damn good with the anatomy there. I mean, like
he almost has like a Jason Burrows feel a little bit.
Very much, yep. Especially in the actions and the explosions. Yeah. Oh my God, yes. So that was, I have to say, one of the really, really unexpected joys, because I thought, "Whoa, wonderful cover! I'm going to open," and I'm like, "Oh." I don't want to necessarily slam Dynamite, because they give a lot of artists their first opportunity, outside of indie books, and people got to start somewhere and learn the craft. But with this particular series, I think it's off to a great start. The writer is David Papoys. I know he's done Dynamite stuff. I know he's done some stuff for Valiant, I think. I'd have to look up what his specific credits were, but in terms of world building, he does a lot in 22 pages. He does a lot, and I was impressed by that. So, Space Ghost #1 from Dynamite, and I enjoyed it, and I think you guys would as well.
I'm gonna check it out. I will say on the art front, like it feels like over the past year, 2 years, Dynamite's kind of turned a corner obviously I'm a stan of this property, so I'm kind of partial and biased. But we gushed over the Gargoyles book, how great the art was in that that first book. There's been several come out. The work that's being done with the DuckTales or the Darkwing Duck book, the art and that is great. The art and Scar was excellent. So they're doing a lot of really good interiors now, to where you're.
I've also heard good things about Thundercats.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I'm not reading that property, but
yeah.
But that you're absolutely right. For years, it was grab Dynamite, and you're gonna have just if you like the licensed property or whatever, but don't expect great things. But then they
even in stuff that I was a mark for like Project Superpowers.
Yeah, same. Yep.
Yeah,
some of the James Bond books.
Yeah.
But that's good. I'm glad that they're they're really picking up on the quality and not just enticing people in with the properties that they're showing, but also keeping hopefully the readers, and keeping their interest beyond the issue #1 and like the 15 different covers.
Steve, how about you? You got a book?
So yeah, I do have a book, and it's. So I was, I was talking to you guys over the past couple of days about what I wanted to talk about, and I was actually thinking about doing the new Blood Brothers Mother book that came out from Distillery that looked really interesting and very unique, sort of narrative framework on there where you're not really sure whether it's the past or the present. But instead, I decided to go for 80s metal, sword and sandal and magic and sex. And that is with Slash. Good old Slash had last year had gotten together with with another sort of horror writer and filmmaker, Stephen Kostansky, who you might know from Psycho Gorman that he wrote and directed, and Tim Seeley, to bring back the property of Deathstalker. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with Deathstalker. It's something that started out in like the early 80s, I think 1982. So of course, right on the heels of Conan and, around the time of Beastmaster and all of that, this was one of the sword and sorcery type properties. And I actually have some of the original movie posters here. This is what I remember seeing on the VHS cover at the local pharmacy where I used to rent stuff back when I was a kid. Looks really super impressive. Boris Vallejo doing the artwork, just gorgeous. Not what you're actually going to get when you see the movie, because it is low budget schlock.
Oh, it so does my heart good to see that Vestron logo. It's like welcome.
Oh
home. Yeah. Oh man, love it.
And then it had several sequels. I think it actually had 3 sequels. The one that I was most familiar with originally was Deathstalker 3, Warriors from Hell. And if you are a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, that is why. I'm a huge Misty, still am. And this was one of my favorite episodes ever, was when Mike and the Bots got to roast Deathstalker 3, which was hilariously terrible. And headlines like, potatoes are what we eat. And, this is a bad year for oats. These are just classic lines from a terrible sword and sorcery pick. However, the comic is great. I think this is the medium that Deathstalker was really meant for, to be honest. Yes, 80s movies where it's kind of tongue in cheek and pretty cheesy. Sure, that's a way where, it's an aesthetic. But this in the comic form, with Tim Seeley writing and Jim Terry on art. We also have Kurt Russell, not that one, the other one, on colors and letters by
World Design.
They just do an amazing job with this, and it's snappy, it's hilarious. The humor's very modern. It's got all the gore and the sex and the nudity and all the stuff that you would expect from a Deathstalker film and Deathstalker property. but the way that it's framed is very tongue-in-cheek, on purpose, very funny. Where Deathstalker and his companion Kern are basically fighting their way through hordes of zealots who are out to rescue a virgin priestess that Deathstalker actually had previously rescued from a giant troll. And unfortunately, she's no longer a virgin because, of course, it's Deathstalker and he has to sleep with every woman that he rescues. And the zealot army, led by the virgin's also virgin brother, also a fellow priest of this cult, and there's this big thing that goes on, this big plot point where he needs to rescue her so that they can purify these people who are just like diseased by plague. Obviously, things go horribly wrong. Lots of people die. Lots of people have limbs severed, heads severed. There's all sorts of things that are severed. Some things that are dangly that probably are very lucky that they haven't been severed, because there's a lot of full frontal male nudity in this. Just to let you know, I cannot show half of these pages on Facebook Live. But there's some great, just, aside kind of humor. And in this panel here, I mean, it might be hard to see if you're reading on a device or anything. But it's two peasants who are just noting that, hey, there's this huge siege going on in the castle next door. Like, this whole zealot army is they're fleeing burning bodies to try and get into this castle. And, the one farmer who's digging is like, oh my, the children will want to see this. And of course, during the fight, you have off to the side just like a whole bunch of peasants that are practically, eating popcorn and watching the carnage, just, like, ooh, this is fun. But I mean, this is just kind of the humor that really permeates this book. And, Bill, it's unlike like the one joke kind of situation. There's a lot of really funny moments in this that kind of push it past just simple parody and just, really keep up a good sense of humor. So Tim Seeley did an amazing job here on this, and I think Slash picked a good partner to work with. So my cat's knocking stuff off.
Does Tim Seeley just know everybody cool? Like, does he just know everyone who's awesome?
I don't know how Slash and he know each other, but man, this is the kind of stuff that he could come up with by talking with, like, just random rocker friends of his. Like, yeah, please keep doing it.
I would love to know some of what Slash's role. So number one, I'm a huge Slash fan. Just Guns N' Roses, Velvet Revolver, Snake Pit. I've got all their stuff. I like it. Huge fan. A huge Duff McKagan fan too, but that's beside the point. Like, but I know he's into pop culture and comics and BMX and stuff like that, and just all this stuff. But I've never heard of it. I didn't know he was into the production aspect of it. So I would love to know what his kind of like role was with this. That's I'm gonna go buy this just for the Slash of it all.
Oh yeah. It's a 3-issue series, so it's a 3-issue miniseries, and there is a crossover issue with other Vault property, Barbaric.
Yeah.
So if you've ever read Barbaric, there is going to be a crossover issue. But this actually came out of a Kickstarter that Slash and Tim Seeley and Stephen Kostansky had put together last year to just bring this together. And the big thing is the movies. The cheesy, sword, magic, sex, monster kind of, draw of those old VHS films, because they were mostly straight to VHS. I think only the first one ever got a theater release. But it's just good, crazy, wild memories of these, terrible B movies. But somehow he was able to convince Tim, like, hey, why don't we just write a new version of this? Why don't we write a new comic? Bring it back. Because I think the last film, Deathstalker 4, was in 1988, I believe, maybe 89. But they are trying to revive the movie property. So who knows? We might see like a new Deathstalker straight to Amazon Prime streaming in the next couple of years. But yeah, I totally recommend this if you can pick up issue 1 and then again 2 more issues and the crossover with Barbaric. It's wacky.
I love that.
Yeah,
cool. John, Randy, do you have any books you're currently reading you want to shout out briefly?
Woo!
Who first? You, John? Me? There's like
there's a lot. I'm trying to, the one I want to lift up for this segment. I am really excited about when I saw this for Free Comic Book Day. So also Free Comic Book Day. I adore the Archie horror imprint so much. Only because first of all, they did a really good job with this too, with auxiliary content in here, and I love just the different stories. And the thing I love about the normal publications that Archie Horror does, and obviously it's scary and I adore it, but I really love the letter from the creative team at the end of each issue, because it lifts up why the creative team was chosen, and it really gets into like the thought process behind the book. And I really love a leader that calls out the members of the team, and so that's something that to me it's always stood out when I read any of these. I do it cover to cover, and I just have such a great time with it. So they do a really good job. So shout out to Archie.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So for me, there's there's a bunch of new titles that I keep up with in parallel. I try, but I would say the one that's really caught my eye, Man's Best. If you guys have seen this one.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously I'm a dog lover. You saw the one I had, and I had a ginger Australian Shepherd. He passed away a while ago. So when I see books that have these anthropomorphic characters in different situations, I kind of really love those books, because it's like, the perspective of non-human, and they can say whatever they want. They can make interpretations of whatever they want. And this one I really love because it was animals in space. One is like a cyborg dog. The other one is like, I think, a telepathic cat. And, those different things, and the way they engage with the scenarios and how they understand things, regardless of the animal perspective, the whole idea of their loyalty and just the trust, and everything is going to work out, right? And that's kind of how your pets are. They're like, as long as I'm with my person, everything is good. Yet everything is like alien invasion, cyborg shootouts, all that kind of stuff. And I just think it's a riot. So, I really like this first issue. I have the second one. I haven't read it yet. But that's one of the ones that I'm following. Obviously, I picked up my Blood Hunt and Blood Hunters and all that other fun stuff, but I haven't really jumped into any of those yet. But I did the Free Comic Book Day issue, the prelude, which I'm like, oh, so much stuff. Oh, now I want to get all the books. So, yeah, those are. I think that's what I would have to. I would shout out to those ones this week.
Cool. And Randy, the Man's Best, that's from Boom.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
They have a couple different covers. I really like this one just because you've got like a pug with a rocket strapped to its back. I mean, a cat in an exoskeleton in an exosuit. I mean, it's fun mixing all these genres. And so I also read Feral. That one's kind of fun too. I love zombie.
Yeah, I was going to say we're getting a lot of those kind of anthropomorphic animal books, especially after the success of Tony Fleece's kind of first book with Trish Forstner. Like that really did, by no means was the first, right? But that really opened up a lot of doors and showed how successful it could be. So there's like 4 different books I've got stacked up in my comics closet back there that are that trope. So it's really, I think what Tom King is writing one now, and so there's
I think there was Animal Pound.
Animal Pound,
yeah, which is pretty good. That one's very interesting. But also interestingly enough too, and unlike something that's very uplifting and charming, it is, I believe they are re-releasing We 3 in a new printing of that, which is one of those books that makes me absolutely bawl like a baby every time I read about 3 cybernetically enhanced animals that have been increase their intelligence, but have to, that want to survive, and it's just so sad.
I read it once, and that was enough for me. I never need to revisit.
knows how to crush you, just like Bride of Baghdad. I mean, you read those books back to back, you're just not going to move from under the blanket for the next 3 weeks. You just I'm taking my meals in my room. I can't take it.
If I can also mention another one that I talked about a few months ago at this point, beneath what the hell is the name of that? Beneath the trees where nobody sees. Doesn't trip off the tongue, and it should, because it's this beautiful alliteration. But I always forget the name of the book. Yeah, really well done.
I can't wait to until that's collected, because I've had so much trouble finding the individual issues.
Same.
Selling well, yeah. The second is like impossible to find.
Yeah,
the second issue is just, and I think they did a second printing, but I think didn't make it that much easier. So
yeah,
when it's collected, I think that's when a lot of people are going to discover that.
Yeah, let's hear for those animal books, right? That's right. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to start wrapping this episode of the Comic Book Bears podcast up. And when we do, we get to two particular segments before we say our goodbyes. And the first is where we show off our geek gets, anything that we've picked up over the last 2 weeks that we want to kind of spotlight. Steve, I see you have, at the very least, you have a poster behind you.
Oh, yeah. I've got Blood Hunt, which, of course, Blood Hunt, that's the new Marvel summer event. But also another Marvel summer event that we're not getting this year, but we will get in 2025, is Captain America 4. However, McDonald's does have the toys. So if you are looking for some interesting Marvel-themed Happy Meal toys, the new Captain America 4, New World Order, the toys are out. And they're kind of like, I guess, like little ornament kind of things, or rear mirror hangers or whatever. But I've got Falcon here, and I've got Captain America. Kinda, yeah. I mean, I think they're cute. They're cute little plushy things. So
interestingly enough,
keep them away from the cats.
Coca-Cola right now, their cans are also Captain America themed, which all of this is like marketing locked something in.
Well, yeah, but based upon its original release date.
Yeah,
everything got pushed out.
Postponed, yeah.
Yep.
So,
but yeah,
right. That's cool. Caleb, how about you?
Yeah, so I've got two things I'll show up real quick. One of the other things I bought at Free Comic Book Day, because my LCS had a good sale, is I got Volume 2 of The Question by Dennis Cowan and Denny O'Neil. If you have heard me on this show before, I gushed ad nauseum about my first foray into it, which was reading it. I think last year I read the first volume of The Question, and thoroughly loved it. But not only did we get new comic book or Free Comic Book Day in the past since we've spoken, we also had Record Store Day. And I did not get to go record store shopping on Record Store Day, but luckily I have friends both near and far. And my friend Ray, who also is a manager at Amoeba in San Francisco, sent me this. I am a music fan, as you all know, huge hip hop fan too. This, if you don't recognize it, is Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. It is one of their classic albums. I love Freddie Gibb. If you're into gangster rap, dude is fucking fire. Like he drops straight smoke, and it's amazing. So I really love this. It is fat with tracks. I mean, just so super excited about this. Also, love the little comics homage to the cover. Reminds me a little bit of Cerebus. For what that's worth, Cerebus in and of itself in a bubble is awesome. Take away all the other stuff about it that we don't want to talk about. So, so really enjoy this record. If you've never listened to it, you need to go check out Freddie Gibb and Madlib. It's fun stuff. You'll like the tracks.
Okay, cool. As you can tell from the background, I hate music. So I also went Record Store Day shopping. And just picked up a few things. It's amazing. Now, I know, Caleb, you said you didn't go.
I think
people lay out like mortgage payments. I mean, it's amazing how much money people spend on these days. It's incredible. But I did pick up three things. The first is a reissue of the first Yardbirds album.
Nice.
From 1964. And this is a live album, actually, 5 live Yardbirds. They make a big deal of it being Eric Clapton's earliest recordings, and there he is at 21 years old, and the other members here also contributing. Really nice packaging. They have like an OBI. If you're familiar with Japanese pressings, there would always be this OBI on the side, which would give information in Japanese, even if the other contents were in English. So in that spirit, they have that. I haven't opened any of these yet, but I will get to that. I also got the collection of the 1975 Sire demos from the Ramones.
Yeah.
These were the original demos for their debut album. These tracks have been, they've appeared as bonus tracks on deluxe editions in the past, but it's the first time these have been on vinyl. So there was a similar release last year with Joni Mitchell's demos for Court and Spark, and it seems Warner's they have like a demo release every year now, so it's really cool to see that. And then a band I really love, which is very much in that in the same wheelhouse as the National, but they haven't seemed to have gotten the same traction, though they've been around just as long. They go back to the early 2000s as Cold War Kids.
Yeah.
And they had a release at the end of last year called Cold War Kids, self-titled, even though I think it's like their 8th or 9th studio album. And, like any releases and any sessions, there's always tracks left over, it seems. So they did release the Cold War Kids CWK EP, which has 5 of the tracks that were left over from that session. So those were my record store day gets. And Randy had mentioned earlier about how G.I. Joe and the Transformers the movie was an influence in getting into comics. This is my variation of that. Like I mentioned Super Friends too. Super Friends basically got me into comic books, and something that was basically concurrent with that were the Mego figures of the superheroes that were these 8-inch figures that were out at the time. And Mego basically, came back to life around 2018. And last year they reissued their almost all of their original male characters. And this year's wave has additional characters that were never part of the original issues. So I had 2 the last time. I got my shipment of the remaining 6, and these are really cool. So I got Deadman, and I got Dr. Fate.
Oh,
Character that wasn't necessarily around when I was a kid, but they're very happy to have it. Nightwing.
yeah.
The classic version of Brainiac. Firestorm, which this is the one people are going nuts for.
Really?
A lot of people have picked this one up that I know. And Red Tornado. Nice. So these are the remaining figures from there. And with the cost, I'll be very happy if there's no additional wave this year. I can wait till next year. I'm very happy to do that.
I like how Bill was like, some people are just dropping mortgage payments at record store days. So anyway, here's the entire line of this. So, hey, Bill, just real quick before we move on, forgive my ignorance and educate me a little bit. With that, I know that was the iteration of the Yardbirds that Clapton was a part of. Did Clapton and Page ever overlap at the Yardbirds? Or were they
no, but Page and Plant did.
Okay, Page. Okay,
it was Clapton and then Page and Plant. Beck and Page Beck overlapped. Jeff Beck was Clapton's replacement,
right?
And then the bass player left, and Jimmy Page on an interim basis came in on bass. Then there was a brief time that the bass player returned, and they actually had the 2 guitarists were Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page for a brief period of time, like 1 month, and only one single where they both appear on it. And then Page became the guitarist, and that eventually led to Led Zeppelin. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. John or Randy, is anything you got that might fill this bracket?
I do have something. On the music note, though, I just have to say, Caleb, you were with me in spirit last time that I checked came on, and it always takes me back to when you posted about that Nipsey Hussle song on your record player, and I'm like, I'm living the Caleb life. My windows were down, and I had my shades on with my hair looking
Yes.
It was a moment, so boom.
Nipsey.
So I'm a little bit of a diva with my comics, and so when I was at the shop in Minnesota, I saw the beautiful shinies, and I know we were just talking lightly about that Dazzler first appearance. Maybe you guys brought
Oh
it up.
yeah.
So I love the roots of the X-Men, and I love some bling. But also, sorry, Caleb, I got the Blood Hunt foil cover just
love it.
because I'm extra
Ooh.
and I adore this event so much. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about those two finds, though. But that Dazzler cover, I could not say no to because she deserves it. So.
Well, Tony Gilkinson, who has joined us tonight, I think he might be interested in getting that if you can find that variant somewhere. Because I know they've been doing so many facsimile reprints about everything. Sorry, I've got all the dogs and cats up here.
It's
they
okay.
wanted to contribute.
I understand you so well.
But yeah, no. So I think that's really cool that they've been putting out a lot of these facsimiles and even special versions of those. If you've got extra bucks to just drop down on it, definitely get them.
Couldn't say no.
And Randy, do you have anything that might fill this bracket?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, I kind of missed out on Free Comic Book Day as well because my nerd fix for the week was I was at a national science fair competition with one of my students.
Very cool.
And so that's where I was in Albuquerque for that. And so this is actually a competition sponsored by Army, Air Force, Navy, Space Agency, and they pick like the top kids from all across the country to present their research. And so my junior was there, and so she was presenting her stuff. So I was getting my science nerd fix, and then as soon as I got home on Sunday, that's when I tried to run out and grab everything from Free Comic Book Day that I missed. So that was my get. I don't have anything shiny. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up, and the last segment that we always have on our show is something we call the Woofs of the Week. In the bear community, if you find a fella attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar where we woof at something which may be comic book related, but it may also be a film or a TV program or a charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start, as I always do, with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
Well, my wolf of the week again goes out to a comic. Maybe sometime in the future I might talk more about it, but Bear Pirate Viking Queen by Sean Lewis and Jonathan Marks Baravecchia. I mean, this book is insane. It's gorgeous. It's wild. It has a bear in it. It also has a bear in it, and it's very, it is wild, crazy. It is a fever dream of a book. The art composition is just absolutely fantastic and chaotic. It reminds me very much of a Dave McKean book. So like reading this, I was reminded of Cages. So if you've ever read Cages and you loved it, well, guess what? Pick this up because it is absolutely crazy and inciting. I believe it's going to be a 3 or 4 issue mini. So put up by Image, $5, and it is worth every penny because there are no ads in this thing until the end. It is very crazy. Cool. But yeah, that's my wolf of the week. Bear Pirate Viking.
All right. Let's go over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf of the week?
My wolf of the week goes out to yesterday. Yesterday, if you check your calendars, was National or International Tom of Finland Day, as I am rocking everything. My love of Tom of Finland is really, really well documented, known. I think, we owe a lot to him, both just as gay men, but also as comics fans and as a proponent of the First Amendment. That's, we owe a lot to him. Yesterday would have been Tom's 104th birthday, if I remember right. And so, I broke out. I actually was going to break out some other stuff, but I was like, I don't know if that can be on Facebook Live, so let's not do that. My favorite shirts, and obviously I've got my tome of Tom of Finland collection stuff behind me. So, but happy Tom of Finland Day to all who celebrate. Keep it lit, keep it alive.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Too,
yes,
so.
you did.
So. Let's go over to John. John, what is your wolf of the week?
This one's really random, and so I know that Blood Hunt is definitely just a popular topic right now. And shout out to the free comic book day issue, but I was just raving about this last night on a comic book look, and I wanted to lift it up here because these are things that are put out and maybe often slept on. But this was a free offering put out actually months ago. Blood Hunt Diaries. So it's just a freebie. The comic shops had it at the counter. You got one. And what I like about this is this actually reminded me a lot of the Marvel Ages publication where creators were interviewed. And this actually goes into the Blood Coven, which is the superhero group of vampire, the people that are going to slash up the Avengers or whatever, allegedly. It's a fun look at this. It's a fun look at the event though. And to me, it did its job. It got me excited, but I really, really loved hearing from the creators from not just the main event, but some of those side stories as well. What they're doing with Union Jack the Ripper, one shot, just having fun with the character names, what they're going to do with Midnight Suns, Werewolf by Night's up in the mix. You know how I feel about that. So I really encourage everyone when you're at your shop and you see those freebies by the register, definitely check it out. It's worth a read. And if you're ever going through the back issues, series like Marvel Ages are definitely worth a look too, because getting to have the perspective of creators at the time, it truly is like that time capsule, and they do a really good job with it. So I highly recommend it. I don't know, I feel like I'm becoming more of a geek for that kind of stuff. Versus like a lot of maybe the newer books. So I don't know. I just really love seeing this kind of stuff and hearing from the people. So
all right, cool. Over to Randy. Randy, what is your
there's my contribution to Tom of Finland Day.
Okay. Yeah, it's good you didn't dress up. Yeah.
I can't follow up after that. I mean, that's just I got nothing. I can so I think John actually took one of my wolf. I've actually been loving all the Blood Hunt everything, and so how it's been reaching out to all the titles. So I mean, obviously that's the one. I love zombies, so if it were zombies, I would do the same thing. I'm going to do some shameless self promotion and say my wolf of the week is going to be page 3 of Kosmotrope #1 by Bamboo Panel Studios. Really cool. His personality is awesome. Check him out. That's my wolf of the week. Ginger Bears, always at the top of the list. But
Right.
there you go. I can't outdo what everybody else did, so I'm going to do some shameless self promotion. So
I think yours is pretty high up on the list.
Yeah.
It really works.
It's like, oh, I can't outdo that, but here's this comic that I helped create with really pretty pictures, of which I'm the EOC of the company that made it. So
Yours is a literal wolf.
Actually, so John has brought up, I don't know if he's manifesting this or sending this out into the universe, but he's like, can you imagine someone cosplaying that character?
I can't imagine that. I have several times.
Should we make that a contest? I don't know.
You would get some interesting submissions if you did.
I've volunteered to help judge.
Well, right now, as far as I know in the book, he's single. So,
is how soulless they are going to be a metric in the judging process?
What was that? Tactile? What?
No, I was going to say how soulless they are. It's a stereotype. I know.
No, the judging will be blindfolded. So,
okay.
I can see
for my wolf of the week, I played hooky yesterday, and I ended up seeing the matinee of the new revival of The Who's Tommy on Broadway, and this is the playbill. Don't really have anything else I can really provide because there's very limited merch right now. But Steve has a nice picture.
I heard the merch sucked actually.
Shh. And then that's an inside joke. All right. So these are two frames. These are, if you're watching the version, I have to remember that there's a radio head here. These are some pictures from the production. Young Tommy at the mirror, and then later when he becomes a pinball wizard. I was a nut for the 93 production on Broadway. I ended up seeing it 12 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I would, but I was also working in the industry, so I was a total comp whore. So that's how that worked. But I absolutely love the 93 production, and there's a lot to be offered in this. This is loud. I don't think people were prepared for how loud this show is, and figuratively and aesthetically. It's turned up to 11 in ways that are not just sonically. And one of my reasons for going quickly on this is because it only received one Tony nomination. So who knows what's ahead for it. It's a very rough climate to survive on Broadway, though it has gotten great reviews and has, exceptional word of mouth. Revivals are always a tough haul for them. Even a show like Sweeney Todd that had such an amazing advance, and as soon as the initial cast left, that only lasted 3.5 weeks. So if you have the chance, if you're in the New York area and you're visiting and not part of the regular area, definitely consider this, because it really is a singular work. Because when you think of rock opera, this is the one you always think of, because there really aren't that many. It didn't breed many like them, because I think it was so much in its own idiom. And I just love the fact that this even exists. So the Who's Tommy on Broadway at the Nederlander Theater. That's my wolf of the week.
Awesome. Hey, two things. One, we are getting a showing here of John On Demand's gorgeous, blacklight prints in his studio. There's some wonderful color going on in there in those marble prints.
I had to do it for Caleb before we ended, so I was like,
"Thanks, Boo."
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. And we've had several people who have joined us tonight on the live stream at various times. We've had John Westhoff. We had my brother actually joining us from South Carolina. We had James Figueredo, Tony Gilkinson as well. And then also Daniel Williamson just popped in to join us, and he joined the stream right as we started talking about Tom of Finland, Caleb. And he let us know that apparently the Modern Art Museum of Helsinki just did an exhibition to celebrate his 100th birthday.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Also, just speaking of exhibitions, if you noticed in the Mad magazine, where is it? Where did it go? Where is it? Here there's going to be an exhibit of Mad art at the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Oh wow!
I saw the Norman Rockwell, the Norman Rockwell stuff that's a permanent installation, but I saw the David Bowie, the artwork surrounding David Bowie. And I also, it's also beautiful there. I have pictures up there. It's so beautiful up there. Consider that. And also, after the show, I met up with Kevin Sonicson, past guest, who was in the city for work, and he says hi, and through him, Cena says hi. So,
hi Kevin, hi Cena.
Meant to report that as well. So. All right. Well, we're wrapping this up. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. You can also find us on the Blue Sky and the X and the Threads as Comic Book Bears. Whoa. You can find us on the it's so hard shaking stuff that you've been saying for 7 years. God almighty. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears podcast. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us, naturally do so through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, through YouTube Music, right? YouTube Music, yep. That's the name of it. All right, I'm getting this stuff right. It's so hard. I've been saying the same shit for 7 years. And those are our points of contact. And if you've been joining us through the Facebook Live, thank you for joining us tonight. If you're watching us later on YouTube, thank you. Please like and subscribe. So there you go. John, Randy, thank you again for joining us tonight. Loved having you. Wish you the best of success with Kosmotrope. I'm sure. I almost left you.
What happened?
Oh, you're frozen too, so maybe that's.
Oh.
We can still hear you though.
You can hear me?
We can.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
All right. All right. Until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm the Space Ghost version of Bill Zanowitz. If you're listening, you're going to hear a wolf and an explosion. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Go
Take
back,
care,
Kosmotrope.
everyone.